Hello, welcome to the Creative Writing Life podcast.
And I almost stepped under intro because usually it's the Creative Life podcast. I'm Justin Slow, and then I come in with I'm Paul Simon, but I didn't even give you a chance to do that.
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm too tired. Yeah, I'm Justin Sloan.
And
Let's say also.
I'm still Paul Simon.
Yes, good interest today, guys. Listeners, I'm going to say
We're
it up front this
professionals at
time.
this.
Yeah. Maybe I'll save it for next. I was going to say up front this time, like, hey, please go leave reviews and all that stuff. But I'm like, maybe wait till the next episode when we get our intro right.
Well, this just shows our human side. We're not infallible. We're
Yes,
fallible.
exactly.
We make mistakes just like everybody else.
Yes, just like the organizers of the ATX Television Festival.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I understand there's a story behind that, but we'll get to that in just a second. So even though you were out last week at ATX, did you have a chance to watch or read anything? Because it was in Austin, so I'm guessing maybe you read something on the plane.
I probably did. Good question. Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I will go first. There are two things we watched. So my wife got me into this show. It's off of, it's not the BBC, but I think it's Channel 4 in the UK. It's called Taskmaster. And it's kind of like a game show, but it's the same 5 contestants. They're all comedians, and they do it for 10 weeks in a row. And they all have to do these really unusual tasks that they all get like this little instruction card, like how to do this. And there's so many different ways that it can be interpreted. And it's a lot of fun to watch. And it's not for families because they use a lot of bad language, only because they're frustrated or that sort of thing. And nothing's, intentionally mean. And because it's British, so everybody's, good sports about it all. And it's just a lot of fun. And from what I understand, they tried to do an American version of it a couple of years ago, and it just failed miserably. And I'm very intrigued to know more about that. But they only do 10 weeks. So the season 15 one just wrapped up. And so we watched the finale and like who was awarded the grand winner, and that was fun. So I think it'll probably be a couple weeks until season 16 starts up. So there was that. And I don't know what prompted me to get to it, but maybe because I watched Return of the Jedi a couple of weeks ago. So I thought, you know what? I haven't seen Empire in quite some time. So I watched that, and I've seen it so many times before. It never really struck me how efficient and to the point the writing is, in that like the scenes just really move and there's no fat to them at all. They just, they get to the point of that scene and just move on to the next one. And I always know the joke is, George Lucas thing was, faster, more intense when they were filming Star Wars. And it's kind of like almost evident on the screen in both terms of action, but also in dialogue and how the story progresses. It was a really great lesson, like a reminder of how this is what your script should be like. The scenes should be moving and always constantly moving and gaining momentum as the story progresses and building the conflict and the tension. It was a lot of, it was a lot of fun to watch, but it was also a great screenwriting homework assignment almost.
For sure. And that's what bothers me when I go to acting classes and they say slow it down, and I'm like, what do you mean slow it down? We need to be intense, faster, more intense. What's wrong with these people these days?
It depends on the story, I guess.
I know. They want it to be slower and they want me to mumble or something. I don't
know.
So on that note, I rewatched for the whatever it's time, the J.J. Abrams Star Trek from 2009?
I think.
Yeah. And great. Same. Just good fun, perfection throughout, in my opinion. I love it. And I was watching it for that reason, that somebody had referenced it for me for like, what we're trying to write here is this. That's the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, and I was like, oh, okay, I better watch that again just for reference. And good stuff. But in new stuff, I watched Fubar, which is the Arnold Schwarzenegger TV show. I think it's on Netflix.
Oh, it's a TV show. For some reason I thought it was a movie.
Nope, TV show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Arnold doing TV now for Netflix, and it's cool because I had written a screenplay that was very similar to that in many ways. Not enough to like be worried or anything, but so when I was watching it, I was like, oh, sweet, this is like how I could have approached it if I had gone slightly different direction.
Cool,
but very cool idea about them, father and daughter reconnecting through spy/assassination type stuff. So that's in line with my style, and in other news related to that, I read the essay by Javier Grillo Marxuach, is that how you say his name? That relates to this new book that just came out called Burn It Down, which is all about Lost and how effed up that writer's room was. So.
I heard about that.
I think that was cool because as I was reading it, I was like, oh, so it's not only some video game companies that are like this. I guess that's as much as I should probably say about that without digging a hole for myself.
Well, it's interesting you said that because I did. So I think last week was the last episode of Barry on, well, Max. I have to get used to saying that.
Ugh.
And I'm not going to go into about the show, but there was a thing I saw earlier today on social media. Like someone had posted that I guess they were like a PA on the set, and they were talking about how nice and considerate Bill Hader was, especially because he was the writer and the director, I think, for almost the entire last season.
That's
And
awesome.
that I guess because when he was starting out, he was a PA on sets as well. So he got to see both good and bad directors. And he saw the bad directors. And I guess his thing was like, I'm not going to be like that if I ever get the chance to do this. And that he got to know like everybody's name, not just, the DP and, the higher ups of production, but he knew like all the PA's names and all the electricians' names and like all the union guys.
Yeah.
And that when he would do interviews and talk about a certain shot or whatever type of the directing thing that he was doing, he wouldn't just say, oh yeah, that was all my genius. He would give credit where credit was due, just like whoever was involved, the camera person, the camera person's assistant, and like the PA's helping out, because he just, he was there, and so he knows what it's like, to have a good boss, and that's what he wants to be. And everyone's like, they said it was like one of the best sets they've ever been on,
That's
because
awesome.
because it was such a positive experience. And I think hopefully more directors take that to heart.
Yeah, we need more for sure. More in
Mhm.
every avenue, I'm sure. It's not just directors or game people. It's like everybody's had some bad bosses.
Oh
But
yeah.
for sure it goes to areas where the ego and the money can definitely help people get carried away.
Right.
So that ties into the one panel that I thought was awesome at the ATX Television Festival that I was able to go to, which was one of the panels by Javi, which is called Beyond the Page. It was him and another writer slash showrunner, and they were talking about what goes into showrunning and what goes into writers' rooms and all this kind of stuff. So that was quite enjoyable. And there was another one the next day that I wasn't able to go to because I guess you have to have the next higher level badge.
Mm.
That I wasn't totally aware of, and that was with the writer of Burn It Down, and then they were like straight
Oh
up just
wow.
all about loss. So I would have probably enjoyed being in that room, but at the same time, I imagine her book probably covers most of it, and a lot of the tweets that you see on Twitter right now are also probably covering a lot of that. So if people are curious what I'm talking about, basically, yeah, the showrunners of Lost were not super great, and lots of racist and sexist comments supposedly made,
Oh
and
boy.
yeah, worth reading about it to see. And prepare yourself in case you ever in a situation like that. How to be ready? Do I walk out of this situation? What do I do? It's a tough
I'm
one.
very so this panel, it's interesting. Like if it's a conference, I would imagine like all the panels are open to everybody. It's interesting, like they have tiers of panels that you can attend. I mean, I can understand like side events type of things, like networking and cocktail parties, but it's just weird to hear that, this panel was for, like X level and above.
Yeah, so I think I bought the badge for like 350 or something like that, and I would say that the whole time I was there was one, like I said, one panel that I thought was interesting. The pitch fest was cool. I went to that. It's cool to hear the people's pitches, but surprisingly, the judges like didn't give feedback. And so the Austin Film
Wow.
Festival, what's great about that is you're sitting there listening to these pitches, and then you have three judges who are all people in the very much people we respect, who are
Right.
giving their notes on the pitch. And so as people watching, we're learning from those notes. And we're like, yes. But in this case, they didn't do any of that. They just went in the other room, made their decision, came back, presented the winner, and then we're like, what? That's it? It's
That's
over?
lame.
Yeah.
Boy,
But that ties
that's
in.
a
It's
that's
a,
such a
yeah.
ripoff.
Yeah. And it ties in 100% to what the issue with this television festival is that it is, even though they advertise it as like 50%, I don't know if they advertise, but the word on the street is it's 50% fans, 50% industry folks. But no, it was like maybe 5% industry folks from what I could gather, and the rest 95% fan and geared towards fans. And then they did this really dumb thing, which was they had a green room, which I know some conferences do. And if it's a
Sure.
fan based thing, I guess that makes sense. But if you're like Austin Film Festival, you go because you get to hang out at the Driscoll bar with all the cool people. In this case, all the cool people are off in that green room hanging out with each other. So all the fans or the random people like myself were just hanging out, with each other. So you don't get to like have any of that cross mingling really. I know Javi came out and hung out in the bar at least once or twice, and so I'm sure there was some of that. But overall, it was like 99% of the time you're like, well, it's all just a bunch of TV fans hanging around here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That seems like to be even defeating the purpose of having the conference.
All right.
Like you have the
Yeah.
panels, but also if you're there to, mingle and socialize with all the people who are in TV.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any indication why they would do that?
Yeah, I mean, I heard through the grapevine that they are trying to push to make it more of a fan-centered festival. So yeah,
So
so
it was more fans or more like people who want to be TV writers?
not the aspiring TV writers, more
Really?
just straight up fans. Yeah, so
Oh,
it's a sad, unfortunate, but we have the
yeah.
Austin Film Festival, so that's okay.
Well,
I
maybe
guess.
I guess, but it just seems like if it's the Austin Television Festival,
Yeah,
then it would it would seem like, I can understand having the fan aspect, but why not, differentiate yourself from the Austin Film Festival, because you're going to have all these screenwriters, and I mean, I'm sure they get, TV pilots galore, but it just seems like, we want to do this thing that's separate, but kind of like the Austin Film Festival, but for TV.
yeah, or just make
And
it clear, like this is not a festival for you screenwriters. You guys go to the Austin one in October. Stay home.
yeah,
That'd be good to know up front. However, I will say, as a fan, there was some fun stuff there. So if you're a fan listening to this and you're just like, I like TV, I just want to be a fan, that's cool. There was some cool stuff. I went to listen to the one on that show Minx that's
hmm,
on now. Stars bought it. It
okay,
was HBO before, HBO Max. And that Jake, whatever his last name is, who was from the main guy from New Girl. So he went on stage and was like being asked questions. He's hilarious. He's just hilarious. So like the whole audience was just cracking up the whole time. And then they had a Cheers reunion, 30 years since the final episode aired. And
wow,
yeah, so everybody's getting older, of course, but they had the creator, director, two of the writers, and then they had Ted Danson and Cliff and Norm on
oh
stage.
wow,
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. Like in terms of like being like going back to the roots of when I used to watch that with my dad, and then my wife and I streamed the whole show recently or semi
hmm,
recently as well. And so then being able to see that, like, and they weren't that far from us, like 30 feet or something. It's pretty freaking awesome. And they did a table reading of the pilot episode with a bunch, not those cast, but a bunch of the actors who were there for their other things got
hmm.
on stage and read the parts for the Cheers pilot, and that was pretty cool, including. I wish I knew his name. I should have pulled it up beforehand. Do you know the African American guy who was in Lost and he was also in Romeo and Juliet?
The only one I can think of from Law is it Harold
Yeah,
Perrineau?
yeah, him. So he
Okay.
was there. He was one of the people who was reading. I think he read as Norm, maybe.
Oh,
He read as one of
wow.
the people. Yeah, so it was awesome. That was cool. I've been a big fan of his since the Romeo and Juliet days. Say what you will about that movie. I enjoyed
Okay. Okay.
it.
So were there any other panels that you did enjoy?
No,
Oh wow. Okay.
just no.
So okay. So it sounds like there were a few that were not
Yeah.
met with approval from you. What were they about, and why were they
It's
not?
just, I
Why
mean,
were
it
they
was
not
just
good?
so random. It was like a lot of actor things, a lot of like they had random panels about like AI and stuff. And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know. Health and like stuff like that, not gun safety, stuff like that. Like a bunch of just weird
Oh,
panels
okay.
that are
St.
like,
John's. Okay.
yeah, but I there was like multiple times on my schedule where I'd be sitting there like looking, and there's only like one or two panels going on at a time anyway. So for a lot of it, day one, there was only one panel going on at a time. So if you're not interested, you're out of luck.
Wow.
On day two, there was one or two, but often the second one would be that higher badge level. That was like
Mm,
$1,000 or something like that.
sure.
And so if you don't want to go to the first and you can't go to the second, you're also stuck. So there was a good 4 hour window where me and my buddies were like, we have nothing to do right now. And
Oh
that was kind of
man.
annoying. Yeah. So
Okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the chances of you going next year are
yeah.
very small.
Right. Yeah. There was what I did though, which was smart and fun, was that I have some buddies who live in Austin. So I made sure to
Mhm.
make time to go meet up with them. And
Oh, that's good.
yeah, my buddy Alex and I hung out. We went over to this great place. I had some of the best tacos I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
Had a good beer. It was fun. We got a chat. I went, I met up with my buddy Kevin Tillinson, who used to
Oh,
do
wow.
a podcast
Okay.
with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. We got to have dinner, and he was awesome and always fun to talk with. So I made a good trip out of it, and I at the end of the second day I was just pure fan mode, and I was like, I'm just going to be a fan right now, and so that was enjoyable. But yeah, I would no way. So I am an Austin Film Festival devotee for life. And I'll
Okay.
try to go every year for that, but ATX Television Festival, throw it in the garbage.
Okay. I was going to say, had you been there before?
No, not for that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this
But
was a
I
first and last experience with it.
Yep. I heard from other people that previous years it was much more industry focused. And of course, the strike might have caused people
Hmm.
to decide not to go. And Damien Lindelof was supposed to go, but then because he was the showrunner who's getting reamed right now in this book, Burn It Down, about Lost,
Sure.
probably the reason he didn't decide to go or decided not to go, I imagine. So yeah, there's probably multiple factors that cause it to be a little less exciting, but then also that the through the grapevine, what may or may not be true, that they're trying to push it towards fans instead of aspiring
Oh.
writers.
I was going to say, did the strike come up at all, like during any of the panels, or like were people talking about it just overall, or is it just more like, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how much we love these shows.
I don't know because I didn't get to talk to any writers.
Ah,
So there was one
okay.
panel the day after I left that was about the strike. So I imagine there was something going on then, but I wasn't there for that. So I
Okay.
don't know. But then I'm wondering too, was it on the my badge or was it the $1,000 badge?
Oh man. Okay.
So yeah, point being, it's cool to try these things and yeah.
Well, I can't ask, are you glad you went? But I guess in some ways you are, because now
Yeah.
you don't want to go again.
And what I would preferred to have done, like I flew out on a Wednesday morning or something like that, and then like flew back. So I stayed for like 3 nights. I would have preferred to go, like in hindsight, if I was going to do this, just like meet up with friends and try it out, like fly out on a Thursday morning from LAX or something like that, and then fly back on a Saturday night or early Sunday morning. And
Mhm.
that probably would have been a better experience versus Austin. What's different about that, the AFF, is if you go on like a Wednesday or Thursday, and maybe I'll ruin it by saying this, is it's not as crowded. So when you get
Mhm.
there, but the industry people are still there around that time. So if you get there, you get to hang out with the industry people more, you get to have more fun and more like one-on-one. You don't have to yell as much to be heard because it's not so crazy. But Saturday rolls around and it's just insanely packed and so loud and
Right.
crazy.
Right.
So my experience has always been Saturday nights never quite as fun. Plus they're already hungover from Thursday and Friday night. So yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Well, the buyer beware when it comes to the ATX festival.
Yeah. So now we know. And yeah, I've been going to some other panels and conferences and getting pretty tired. So I'm gonna take a break, I think, right now and
Sure.
hang out
Sure.
until October for the Austin Film Festival. What about you? You got anything going on or anything you're excited
Uh,
about?
Pretty much right now. Yeah, I can't say I'm gearing up for Austin, but I am looking forward to going. I've been talking to a couple of people, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna." Actually, I was talking to a friend yesterday. He's gone before. He wasn't sure about going this year, but he said if I do go, we definitely have to meet up and get a drink. I'm like, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But I don't have any other conferences coming up, and uh, I don't really. I think a lot of contest deadlines are looming, and I think I'm when I get the initial thing saying, "Hey, you've 6 days left till the final deadline." I'm like, "Oh, do I?" And then I realized, "Oh, I don't want to." It's like $75. Oh no, I'm not going
Yeah.
to, and that's without notes. And so I just say, you know what? I can put that $75 to better use elsewhere. So right, yeah.
Mhm.
So right now, I'm just writing and enjoying it, and just kind of like cranking out 2 to 3 pages a day, not looking back, just like, okay, I wrote that, move on to the next set. And then when I'm done with this draft, which hopefully be in about, by the end of the month, early July, I can go back and just, edit the hell out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Contests are fun to do at some points in your life. I definitely feel like every success I've had has been through meeting people and networking and not probably through contests, but some people
Hmm.
have. So I know some people have met the person who got them in the door because they placed well at the Austin Film Festival contest and they met somebody at the like a judge or whatever at the contest and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. I met a producer a year ago or so after I'd entered Nickel, and they'd read my script and they liked it, and then we met up for
Wow.
coffee, and it didn't get made, and now a movie just like it came out on Netflix, a different
Of
one. So
course.
that movie Mother with J Lo. So it's like about a
Oh
mom
wow.
who,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. About like the government op who like pulled out of retirement or something, and she's like living off the grid, and they come for her daughter or something like that.
yes, exactly. Mine was a homeless veteran at one point who she has reasons for being homeless and they go after her
Hmm.
kid. And so she has to go back in the zone and like pull herself together and try to be there for her, try to bond with her kid while all this craziness is going on.
Well,
And
speaking of the nickel, so sometimes the Academy they'll put out snippets of reader comments like as
mm,
it's leading up to things, and someone put this on Twitter. So they posted like a couple of screenshots, and two of the scripts that are being talked about. I only entered the one script. Well, I think you can only enter one script. That yeah, it's nice to think, okay, they might be talking about mine because there are a few
right.
keywords here that apply to my script, but it's also like there's no chance they're talking about mine. I'm just daydreaming, and
Who
I
knows?
think you can order the notes now, or you can order the reader comments now. So I might do that like at the end of June, and and see what they thought. I'm
And
actually really lucky that this script that I entered in the nickel, I also entered it in Story Pros, and so far they're supposed to announce the finalists tonight, but it did make it to semis as of
sweet.
last week in the
Nice.
animation category. So I'm really psyched about
Hell
that. So
yeah.
Yeah, so even if it doesn't make it to finals, that'll be a little disappointing. But I didn't know what to expect with this script, so I
Yeah.
sent it just kind of like hoping for the best. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Just the fact that it got to semis was like, yay! So
Yeah.
yeah, it's better than I would have
That's
expected.
awesome. Hell
Yeah,
yeah. So
so
what
we'll see how it
about,
goes.
so wait a second. Nickel now requires you to pay for notes. They don't give them
Oh yeah,
anymore.
Austin's notes are free, and you'll
Okay.
get those I think after the contest, like October, November.
Yeah.
And the nickel notes, yeah, they've always charged like $40 for them.
Hmm. Interesting. I wonder if always includes back in like 2013 or 12 when I was doing that
Very
more.
possible. As far as
Yeah.
I can remember, as long as I've been entering the nickel, yeah, there's always been a thing about, I think they almost had it like you had to pay ahead of time. It's like if you wanted notes, you had to pay when you registered, but I think now you can
Oh,
enter it and
interesting.
then buy the notes after the fact. I think
Oh,
that's what it is.
yeah. I remember always getting notes from them, so it's possible I
Hmm.
paid. Who knows?
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
cool. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I am excited because I have a couple of novels that I've been writing and we're talking to some big people soon and things are
Great.
happening. So hopefully we'll have more fun stuff to talk about on the show in the months and weeks and days to come.
Yeah. Well, after you get some rest, of course.
Yeah. I was telling Paul before we started, audience, that I am spent. So I'm going to take a good nap after this probably and drink some coffee and then get back to it.
There you go. He's a busy man.
Yeah. Trying to be. Hustling,
Okay.
right? We gotta.
Of course.
Yeah, I look
Always.
forward to having a beer with you in October. It's gonna be exciting.
Sounds great. I'm
I'll
looking
just say
forward
that
to it.
every week until October from now.
I know you will. I was going to say it's almost going to be like Justin's Austin countdown. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, did you pack this and don't forget this, and then this is something else you should do when you're in Austin.
Eventually, I'll just rename myself to Austin Sloan instead of Justin Sloan. That'll be
I don't know. I
too
think
much.
Justin Sloan has a better ring to it.
Yeah, thanks. Yes, me too. Cool. All right. Anything else for our audience, Paul?
I don't think so. We are working on trying to get some guests. Some of the people we were hoping to have on incommunicado. So for right now, it'll still be Justin and I, but we have a couple of ideas. So do not fear in case you get tired of looking at just the two of us or hearing just the two of us. But we do have a couple of potentials in the pipeline. So announcements as they are developing.
Yes, and listeners, if you want to leave some reviews, that's awesome. Tell us what you like or don't like about the show. Feel free to email us, whatever. Find me on Twitter at Justin M. Sloan, and I will once again promote my books since it's just the two of us. So we have the Creative Writing Career and Creative Writing Life on Amazon.
There you go. And I'm Paul Zeidman. You can check out my screenwriting blog, MaximumZ, at MaximumZ.blog. I'm also on Twitter at Maximum_Z. And you can check out my screenwriting books on Amazon. Go Ahead and Ask series, volumes 1 through 3, all about screenwriting and pie. Like you said, he's Justin, and I'm Paul. This has been the Creative Writing Life podcast. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, stay healthy. Most importantly, go write something.